Hi, welcome everyone. Apologies for the last video. I realized you only saw my silhouette. Perhaps some of you are thinking that's no bad thing, but here I am, back in better lighting in my home. I figured it would be easier to do the session here. I might still record a few at Abingdon School to post online here, but I think it's probably just easier to do it at home for the time being. So today's session is going to be, I guess, more of a Pilates type session. We're going to focus more on a bit of core stability and function. There will obviously be yogic elements to this, as all Pilates has. So hopefully you'll be able to follow through. As always, if anything is a little bit sore, a little bit difficult or more advanced for your particular level, you can either do an easier iteration or you could just go into child's pose. Or if you're feeling brave, maybe try and hold downward dog if there's anything that you, as I said, if you're just not comfortable doing it, maybe you're carrying an injury in a certain part of the body. As I've been bleating on to you all about for quite some time now, my back is causing me great discomfort. So I know that, and I'm just trying to adapt my session accordingly. So let's stand up, come to the front of our mats. Which side's going to be in front today? I think up here. Big toes touching, slight bend in the knees. We'll come into Tadasana here, wide with the hands. Draw the shoulder blades back towards one another. You have that piece of string elongating the spine just as we begin to straighten the legs. And as we pull that belly button into the spine and push the tailbone down, we should feel the small of our back and our glutes engage here. We're just going to hold this for a couple of breaths. Try and take the deepest, longest breaths you have today, in through the nose, out through the nose. And on our next inhale, let's reach the hands up above the head. Exhale, forward fold, chest to quads, half bend, straighten legs, straighten back. As we step or jump into a plank through Chaturanga, you can come into a full upward dog. I'm still unable to do that myself, so I'm just going to go for a baby cobra, and we can then transition into a down dog. Before you worry about the lower body, as always, pushing the mat away from you as hard as you can. Let the head rest down, and only then are we going to think about lowering the heels and straightening the legs. A few more breaths here. And we're just going to come into a plank here, and we're going to bring our right knee to our right elbow. We're just going to hold this here for 2 breaths. Flexing through both feet. As we push back into plank, we're going to swap sides now, left to left. Another 2 breaths on this side. And back to the center. We'll come through a Chaturanga, upward dog or baby cobra, and push into down dog again. So what you want to do here is create a tripod with 1 foot and 2 hands. So bring your left foot into the center position here, because we're going to go into a one-legged dog. All right. It will just help with the balance a little bit. And what we're going to do here, we're going to go right knee to left elbow now. Flexing through the feet. Pushing that back up. And then knee towards the nose. Push that back up. And then right knee to right elbow. We're going to swap the feet and come into one-legged dog now on the right foot. A couple of breaths here. And then we're going to bring left knee to right elbow. Shoot back up into a one-legged dog. Knee towards nose now. Push back up. And then finally, left to left. into plank, and up into a side plank now. Now, you can either have one foot resting on the ground, feet stacked on top of each other, or you might try and come into the star. As we traverse through a plank, same on the other side now. As we go through the plank, we're going to place our right hand where our left is and trying to keep the body off the ground. We're going to come into a reverse plank, also known as a Hindi plank. And you can see here my form's not great. So what we want to try and do is get those toes touching down and lift those glutes into the air a little bit more. There we go. That's more what we're looking for. Bring the feet a little closer towards you now for reverse tabletop. Try and push the hips as high into the air as they'll go. A few breaths here. Ground through the right foot, flex through the left now as it comes up into the air. Try and keep those hips as high as you can. Don't try and sag down too much. As we swap round, focusing on the breath. Breath takes the pain away. As we sit down into an Anavasana, our boat pose here. Now, if you're new to boat pose, you can just start with the heels on the ground, maybe toes in the air. Try and keep that back straight. Okay, if you're comfortable with it, you can get those heels off the ground. Hands can come out for balance. And as I've mentioned multiple times, my back's a little tender still, but you could look to eventually straighten the legs. I don't have the full range of motion at the moment, sadly, for that. So apologies for not being able to demonstrate it properly. We can go into low boat now. So we're just going to come, small of the back touches down, but we're going to keep the shoulders off. And you can see I've been out of the game for a while. So not only am I shaky, but I'm a little bit out of breath as well. So let's come forward into a seated position now. Cross-legged. If you've got yourselves the wrong way round for whatever reason, just spin around 180 degrees. And we're going to bring the hands up over the head. We're going to try and crush the head with the arms here. Try and keep that back as straight as possible. We're going to bring left hand to right knee. Right hand comes behind the glutes. Take a big breath in, and as you exhale, look as far over that right shoulder as you can. Excellent. Shoot the hands up overhead. We're going to go for the other side now. Exactly the same. Big breath in, and then looking over the left shoulder. Using that hand that's on the, not on the knee, but near the knee, just to help twist us round here. And we're then going to go back into Navasana. From here, we're going to touch the feet down. Now, seated forward fold is what we're going into. I've been particularly struggling with this one. So have the knees as high as you want. Normally I'd be aiming for knees here, but as you'll see today, I'm going to have them at about 45 degrees. Wherever your knees are, just hug under the knee crease. Keep the back as straight as you can, and try and have the, always have the chest glued to the quads. Now, as you get more and more used to this, you can see I'm awkwardly walking the feet away. I may be losing a little bit of integrity in the back, but you know, it is a fold at the end of the day, so that's fine. Come into a toe lock now. So big toes are gripped by the index and middle finger. And see, I mean, if you can't get hold of the toes, maybe part of the shins or even the quads, but wherever you are, just try and straighten the legs. There'll always be a little bend in the knees, obviously. Try and keep that back as straight as you can for a sort of seated half bend here. As you can see, try and push those toes away. You'll notice that I've lost the integrity of my back there a little bit. So maybe back out of that, depending on what your goal is. My goal for today is just not to aggravate my back anymore. So I'm just going to back out myself. And that's a good lesson. Never try and push yourself too hard. You know, we're not trying to get any PBs in yoga. That's not what it's about. It's quite the opposite. It's about just trying to dispel the constant craving for materialistic goals or intentions or whatever else. Okay, we'll come to straddle here. So this is a seated wide-legged forward fold. Just get your legs as wide as is comfortable here. Now the pro yogis, again I said pro yogis, that's not a proper term, is it? Maybe there's some influencers that would consider themselves professionals, but that's not the yogi lifestyle. You know, what they're going to do is they're going to, with a straight back, just have forehead and nose onto the ground. But I'm sure very few of us here are going to be able to do that. So let's just keep the feet as flexed as we can. Let's just bring a bit of a bend into the knees until we can get hold of a toe lock again here. We're going to try and keep that back as straight as we can. And we're going to try and straighten the legs as well. But the more important thing here is the upper body. So if you're struggling, you might grip hold of the shins. You might even bring the shoulder blades towards one another, hands behind the back, just to really keep that back straight, particularly if, like me, you're struggling with a little bit of lower back pain. This can be a nice antidote to that. Just breathing here. And wherever you are, what we're going to try and do now is come into a butterfly pose. So soles of the feet come together. All right, just again, focusing on that breath. Toe lock here. And we're going to try the straddle variation with our feet in the air now. Okay, so this is quite difficult on the balance. What we're going to try and do again, you can just start by having the legs nice and bent, but you want to eventually try and straighten them out here. As you can see, the balance is a little bit tricky. And I'd fallen backwards myself into the sofa, but that's perfectly fine and all part and parcel of this particular pose. So let's just try and work with the balance now. This is some deep core, quite difficult stability and function this. So even if you're almost in a butterfly like this, that's absolutely fine just to practice the pose with for now. But as you become more and more advanced, just see how straight you can get those legs. I've been out of action for a little while, so this is proving a little trickier than usual. We'll come back into butterfly. Hands come over groins, under shins. We make a little hat on the toes. We're going to try and straighten that back as much as we can. Breathing deep. Imagine your head's just taken off from the floor. That will just help straighten the back out a little bit. As with each exhalation, we just try and pivot from the hips, hinge down into a fold. Once you've reached your limit, take a big breath in. And then you can arch the spine and bring the head down a little bit lower. Excellent. And we'll come into a wide-legged boat pose now. So similar to what we were doing, but without gripping the toes. You'll find this a little bit easier because obviously you're not having to lean into the feet at all. Again, just working a little bit more of the side core here. As we cross the legs. And from here, what we're going to do is jump back into plank, chaturanga, upward dog if you've got it in you, baby cobra for me, and downward dog. From here, let's just see if we can jump into a cross-legged position. If you've got a full jump through, by all means go for it, but as I always say, I'm about 2 years off that. I've been saying that for a lot longer than 2 years. And from here, what we are attempting to do is coming into our low boat again. But this time we're going to flex through the feet and we're going to work some up and downs. Hold it there, and side to sides. Try not to breathe through the mouth if you can. I always set a bad example because obviously I have to speak the instructions. I'm often breathing through the mouth, but you should always imagine you've got a bit of duct tape over the mouth, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, we're just going to lie down, bring our hands right over our heads here.
What I want you to do is just try and stretch the hands and the feet as far away from your midriff as you possibly can. I've got a slight obstacle here with the bookshelf, but let's just try and work with it. Really just trying to elongate that body as much as we can. Excellent. We're going to come into what I like to call the fallen chair. So we just imagine we've the chair that's fallen over. And let's just try and come round to the side now. Just some pulses and heel touches. Maybe 10 on each side. Something like that. We're not looking to try and burn ourselves out here at all. Soles of the feet down on the ground, as close to the glutes as you can get them. Palms flat as we come into a bridge. Now, if you know what I mean by saying go into a full wheel, then do. If you don't know what that means, we're not going to do it today. My back certainly couldn't take a full wheel at this stage. So what we'll do instead is we'll just work with some one-legged bridges. Again, just working some deep core here. You won't find these particularly taxing. Before we do that, you might even put your hands under your back just to scaffold yourself up a little bit, just to get a little bit more depth into the pose. And I would say start on your weaker leg. So my left leg is my weaker leg. I'm going to stick the right out, flex through that foot, try and keep those hips as high as I can. We'll do 5 breaths on each side. As we swap round. Okay, and then just get those glutes, get those heels as close to the glutes as you can. Just push up for a final bridge here. Both feet on the ground. You should be able to get significantly higher. See if you can bring the hands overhead. I would stretch fully away from me, but I'll push the books over. I'm just going to bring hands under head here. As we release and hug the knees into the body. Keep the head on the floor to begin with and just rocking side to side. Flexing through the feet. As we take a big breath in, exhale, bring the forehead towards the knees. And from here, we might grab the little toe edge of the feet and pull ourselves into happy baby. Everyone's favorite pose to look like a bit of a doofus, but that's absolutely fine. A lot of yoga is about looking like a doofus, of course, in a good way. The idea here is that you're pulling your feet towards you, but pushing your hands away from you with your feet. A very counterintuitive statement, but I think you get the idea. As we come into low boat again, this time we're going to point through the toes, and we're going to rock the boat. If you want to make it a little bit harder, hands come overhead. Breathing deep. And on the last one, we're just going to use that momentum to kick ourselves into a cross-legged position. Now, if we were being smart about this, we could have actually used that momentum to then jump back. So let's see what that might look like as we come back into low boat. Okay, we'll just do a couple of rocks. And you're just going to try and rock into cross-legged and use that momentum to come through Chaturanga. And let's come into a Sphinx pose now, just to catch our breath. Big toes, heels, knees together. And in the same way as if you can imagine that you've got your hands gripping a bar here, even though they're flat on the floor, and you're about to do a pull-up. So just try and pull the body forward. It'll just help elongate the spine a little bit. I find this feels really nice. And from here, we're just going to push into a plank. Maybe the elbows come a little closer together. And we're going to take our left foot off the ground. Okay, we're going to bring it as far to the left as we can. Touch it down. Pick it up. Bring it back. Touch it down. You can do the same on the other side. I'm obstructed by the sofa here, but you get the idea. Okay, this time we're going to pick it up. We're not going to move it, and we're going to take the opposite hand and stick that out in front of us now. Reaching away, Couple more breaths. And onto the other side. Back into plank. Let's just touch down for a Sphinx again. We'll take a couple of breaths. And we're just going to try this with some pulses now. So we're going to come back into plank. Okay, weight through the right elbow. Left leg, oh no, I'm doing this the wrong way around. Right leg up, left hand up. Stretch them away and bring left elbow to right knee 5 times. And then do the same on the other side. So we get our pulses in on the cross-coordinal plank. And hold the plank. I'm going to come up into side plank on the elbow this time. Again, if you just want to do it on one foot, that's fine. If you want to stack or maybe go into the star, if you're feeling more advanced, you could even grab the knee. But what we're going to do here is we're going to reach the hand that's in the air as far behind us as we can and then shoot into star. We're going to pulse 5 times here. Okay, reach right behind. And onto the other side. Now it might be if your feet are on the ground that you're just reaching around here. Okay, as always, just make this as advanced or as in touch with your own practice as you want. Into plank again. And into Sphinx. Couple of nice deep breaths. Toes together, big toes together, heels together, knees together. Push back. Pull the skin out from under the knees if you need. And we're just going to sit on our heels. So you can hear from how out of breath I am. I'm well out of shape at the moment. And the temptation is to beat yourself up about that, get down about it. You know, think, oh, I'm weighing more or I'm less able to do what I want to do. But the reality is, you're just perfect the way you are. It's cliche, but it's an important thing to try and remember. Hands slightly behind and to the side of the glutes. We're going to take a big breath in. On the exhalation, we're going to engage the glutes. We're going to bring the hips as high into the air as we can. Release here. You're going to lunge forward with the left foot. And if you're comfortable here and you don't want to really do any more with this pose than this, what I'd recommend is shooting the hands up over the head. If, however, you do want a little bit more, see if you can grab that back foot with one hand, maybe with 2 hands. And similar to Happy Baby, we're trying to pull the foot in with the hands and push it away, push the hands away with the feet. For our lovely quadricep stretch here. Now you might hold that right foot in the left hand, bring right hand to left knee, and try and look over the left shoulder as much as you can. You don't have to, this twist's a little bit difficult. But if you've got the balance and the stability, go for it. Again, this is sort of deep core exercise. And maybe we then bring the feet flexed in front of us as we come down, just to engage the hamstrings here a little bit. Try and keep that back as straight as you can. Taking a little look on the screen, I can see I'm a bit straightened out. Yeah, a little kink is probably inevitable. See if you can keep that back as straight as possible. You might even want to grab hold of the toes and pull them in towards you. Engages the calves a little bit more. Maybe reach with the opposite hand and get hold of them, who knows. As always, do whatever feels right for you in the moment. This foot's going to come out at 90 degrees. Sorry if you've got constricted space. And what we're going to try and do here is keep the body as level as possible. All right. So maybe I'll show you side on actually. You can see how bad my form is then. Not looking too terrible. Just trying to keep that body as straight as we can there. You see I'm leaning off a little bit to the side. That's fine. We're now going to take the opposite hand. It's going to come behind the head, and we're going to pull that elbow down towards us. Okay, and we're going to try and make this sort of C-type shape with hands and hands, body, and feet. You're going to bring this arm in front of us now. Pull that into the chest, looking over the right shoulder. Excellent. We're going to swap sides now. So right foot forward, left foot back. Again, you can do the whole of this pose and posture just with the hands above the head. But if you are able, see if, even if you're just holding it down here, that's absolutely fine. See if you can get it with both hands and yank it in. As always, just be careful of the knees, be careful of any particularly tight muscle groups that you have. Everyone's different, thank goodness. And if you want that twist, left foot and left hand to right knee, as we twist and look over that right shoulder. And the right foot comes forward, flex. We're going to lean into that. Little bend in the back, as I said, is okay. Try and keep it as straight as you can. Again, maybe pull that foot in towards the knee with the same side or the opposite side hand. And then we're going to put that foot out to the side. We're just going to lean into it, try and keep that body straight as you can. Let's get this the right way around, sorry. We run this way round, that's it. So left elbow gets pulled behind the neck. You can push the head back actually, just to help elongate the shoulder blades, the top part of the spine. A couple more breaths here. So we bring the hands in front, grip in here, pulling that left hand in the right elbow crease, looking over that left shoulder. And wherever we are, just come into a seated position here. So we'll do a few final poses on our back before we go into any meditation. And so if you find yourself on your mat here, as I imagine you all are, just see if from this position you can use a little bit of momentum just to jump into that cross-legged position again and come with feet out in front. From here, we're just going to gently lie down, and we can do a sort of upside down pigeon. So flexing through both feet, we're going to pull the right knee into the left elbow crease, and we're going to hug that towards our left nipple. Okay, flexing through both feet. What we're then going to do is just move that knee over towards the right side of our body now, and just guide it down to open through the hips, and just see if you can push that knee down towards the ground. You're not going to push on the knee, you'll push the groin or the shin, and try and keep both glutes and both shoulder blades on the ground as you do this. I mean, it's really easy obviously to get the knee down if you cheat like this and roll over to the side, but we're going to try and do this with good form. And we're just going to gently now swap sides. We're going to bring that knee over to the left. Again, keeping the body glued down to the ground, looking over the right shoulder, and just using the hand on the leg to push that knee down towards the ground for our supine twist variation here. I'm just going to adjust my position here a little bit because I'm going to whack into the sofa. We're just going to go into toe lock here, okay? And we're just going to try and open that foot now as wide as we can, fully extending it out to the side. Again, try and keep the glutes and the shoulders on the ground. And then bring that leg over to the other side, grip it with the other hand, maybe reach over the toes. And again, straight leg on this side for our slightly more advanced supine twist. At no point does the foot have to be down on the floor. Just try and keep that leg with a micro bend in the knee and just work down as close to the floor as you can manage. So what we'll do is we will do those 5 postures on this other side now. So right foot extends down, flex through both feet. Left knee comes into right elbow crease. Pull the knee in towards the right nipple now. 4 more breaths. As we just allow that left knee to come down and open the gate here, keeping our shoulders and our hips on the ground. Just trying to guide that left knee down with the left hand. As we gently just rotate and bring it up over. And again, just trying to keep the shoulders and the glutes on the ground. Obviously you're twisting, so the glutes, the left glute is obviously going to come over here. But try and keep other points of contact there. Looking over that left shoulder. And with each exhalation, just try and keep that left shoulder on the ground and get that that left knee just as far over as we can. And then we're going to come into that toe lock. And we're just going to, again, I just need to maneuver myself a little bit so I don't whack the sofa here. We're going to try and keep that leg as straight as we can as we come down for our, to open the gate here. So I've got myself in all types of pickle with the sofa. My apologies. There we go. So I'm not going to be able to get quite down on this side, but we'll just roll with it. That's fine. As we then maneuver over to the other side, just bringing that left foot now over to the right side. As you can see, my left shoulder's come off the ground, so I'm just going to push that back down and look over that left shoulder. Trying to keep it pinned to the ground. 2 more breaths. And release. And all that you need to do now is just very gently, very restfully touch the heels down on the ground. Hands come nice and wide on the mat. Close the eyes down, get yourself as comfortable as possible. Knuckles down on the floor, palms up to the ceiling. And just gently bring that attention towards the breath. With each exhalation, just try and sink a little deeper into the mat. And just gently bring your attention back to the breath at any point if your mind wanders. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's a really good idea not to try and be too judgmental towards yourself. And there's lots of techniques that we can use to assist with this in yogic practice. But possibly one of the best, in my mind, is mantra meditation. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use a phrase that I've mentioned already today. We'll adapt it slightly. And essentially, if you say something to yourself enough times, you end up believing it, no matter how fanciful it might be. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try and build some really strong neurological pathways in today's meditation, and hopefully you can build even stronger ones heading forward by repeating the following phrase. On the in-breath, you're going to say to yourself, I am. And as you exhale slowly, you're going to say to yourself in your head, perfect, just the way I am. There'll be a slight pause at the bottom of the breath. As you breathe in, I am. And as you exhale, perfect, just the way I am. This might seem a little cringy, a little bit cliched,
but it really does pay dividends in the long run. And mantra meditation is a really fantastic type of meditation, which often isn't as engaged with in the West as much as it is in Eastern traditions. In breath, I am. The in breath is setting the scene, if you like, personalizing it to yourself. And as you exhale, perfect, just the way I am. So just work through that silently in your head, repeating on the in breath, I am. And as you exhale, perfect, just the way I am. Keep telling yourself that. And even if you think it's the biggest falsehood, the largest lie you've ever told, if you keep telling yourself, it will eventually become your reality. Anytime the mind wanders, bring your focus and your attention back to the inhale, I am, and on the exhale, perfect, just the way I am. Let's work on that for a few minutes together in silence. Naturally, the mind will wander. Anytime your thoughts have taken you off elsewhere, just bring them back to this present moment. As you inhale, I am, and as you exhale, perfect, just the way I am. Just work with this for a few more repetitions, because you are perfect just the way you are. And it's often the materialism and the obsession with, the likes of celebrity culture that maybe make us feel we're not perfect. And that's very deliberate by these large corporations. I don't want to get too cynical and political at this stage, but there's a lot of information out there that's going to be telling you that you aren't perfect, or that you aren't good, or that you're not good enough. And it simply isn't true. And I find mantra meditation a really useful tool to combat the huge array of disinformation that we see out there, trying to tell us all that we're not good enough, and that we need to spend a load of money to make ourselves better. Money will only make us feel worse in the long run. Yoga and meditation is something that has so much superb benefit. And if you find yourself on the train, or taking a walk, or just having a quiet moment at home, I would strongly encourage you to incorporate some mantra meditation into your yogic practice or into your meditative practice, if you haven't already. And you can play around with any phrases or mantras that you think would be beneficial to you. So for now, goodbye. Thank you very much. And I wish you all a namaste. Do take care, and hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.